The Strait of Hormuz is on fire, literally. U.S. Navy vessels sank 6 Iranian fast boats. The UAE was struck by Iranian missiles and drones for the first time since a ceasefire was declared just 4 weeks ago. 2 cargo ships are ablaze off the UAE coast, and oil has surged to $115 a barrel. President Trump, when asked if Iran violated the ceasefire, said, and I want to make sure everyone hears this, it was not heavy firing. Not heavy firing. The United Arab Emirates might beg to differ. Joining me now are Sophia Reeves, our economics and markets editor, and James Chen, our geopolitical analyst. Sophia, let me start with you. Is this ceasefire already dead, and did the Trump administration just blink?
Thanks, Emma. Look, let's be honest about what happened on Monday. Iran fired missiles and drones at a U.S. partner state. It engaged American naval forces in a waterway that carries 20% of the world's oil. The U.S. Navy sank 6 Iranian boats. Good, that's the right call. But then the President of the United States goes on ABC News and essentially says, well, it wasn't that bad. Douglas Murray has warned for years that the single greatest gift the West keeps giving Iran is ambiguity about consequences. And Trump just handed Tehran a brand new one. I understand the instinct to preserve the ceasefire diplomatically. I genuinely do. But here's what Tehran heard on Monday. You can fire on our partners. You can engage our naval forces, and the American president will call it not heavy. That is not deterrence. That is an invitation.
But Sophia, isn't there an argument, and I suspect James might make it, that Trump is playing a longer game here? That going nuclear in the rhetoric, no pun intended, when you're trying to preserve some form of diplomatic process, could blow up the entire framework. And James, what's your take on this?
Well, look, here's what I think Sophia is missing. She's absolutely right on the strategic logic, but the economic reality of Monday cannot be understated. Oil at $115 a barrel, treasuries selling off simultaneously. That's a market signal that says the global economy is genuinely frightened. Now, I'm not saying that changes the strategic calculus on how to handle Iran. It doesn't. But Trump is navigating a situation where re-engaging full military operations means oil potentially at $140, $150, with inflation already a political liability. The Economist made the point that Trump probably can't reopen Hormuz cleanly and deal with the uranium issue simultaneously. Those are 2 enormous strategic problems compounding each other. And the data suggests the administration doesn't have a clear, integrated plan for resolving both at once.
I hear what James is saying, but with respect, that misses the point entirely. The economic cost of Iranian control of Hormuz is not a one-time event, it's permanent. If Tehran learns that $115 oil protects it from consequences, they will use that leverage every single time there's a confrontation. Every single time. Think about what that means. You've just handed a theocratic regime that wants to dominate the Gulf an economic veto over American foreign policy. That's not strategic patience. That's surrender dressed up in financial language. The Reagan administration didn't flinch when Iran mined international waters in 1988. Operation Praying Mantis destroyed half of Iran's naval fleet in a single day. What happened after that? Years of Iranian restraint in the Gulf. Consequences work. Not heavy firing doesn't.
Here's what I want to know, because both of you are talking about what should have happened or what the right framework is, but we're past that now. The UAE has been attacked. 2 ships are on fire. The ceasefire is wobbling at best and dead at worst. Where does this actually go from here, and what does the next 6 months look like? James, where do you see this going?
The way I see this playing out, and I want to be careful here because there are multiple trajectories, the most likely near-term outcome is an ugly, ambiguous middle ground. Neither full war nor genuine peace. Iran keeps probing below what it calculates is Trump's escalation threshold. The U.S. responds with limited tactical actions, and we get this grinding, dangerous standoff that history tells us is actually more likely to produce a catastrophic miscalculation than either a clear ceasefire or a clear military confrontation. 1 American sailor killed, 1 U.S.-flagged vessel destroyed, and suddenly you're not talking about fast boats, you're talking about a full re-engagement. That risk is real, and it's rising by the day. The uranium timeline running in parallel makes this even more combustible.
Here's what concerns me most, and this is the scenario I think people aren't discussing enough. Iran doesn't need to win a military confrontation. It just needs to survive one long enough to cross the nuclear threshold. Every week of this ambiguous halfway war environment is a week Iran's centrifuges are spinning. The Economist flagged this directly. Trump still has to deal with the uranium. If the trajectory continues where military action is constrained by oil price anxiety and diplomatic face-saving, Iran could emerge from this crisis with Hormuz leverage intact and a nuclear program that's one step closer to weaponization. That's not a worst-case scenario. Based on what we saw Monday, that's the direction we're heading.
Sophia Reeves, James Chen, two brilliant, deeply uncomfortable analyses, and I suspect a lot of people in Washington and Abu Dhabi share that discomfort tonight. One thing is absolutely certain. Somewhere in Tehran, someone is watching Trump's ABC News interview very, very carefully, and they're smiling.